Hello guys, welcome. I'm John, host of Mgtow is Freedom, Professor Emeritus Hominis Mgtonius, and I welcome you back. Right on the way home I listened to the groundwork for the metaphysics of Mgtow. It's a great channel. I'll see if I can put his icon up at the end. I recommend checking him out. He's extremely strict when talking about logic and reason and philosophy. You know, I tend to be a little more off the cuff. I enjoy his channel particularly, and I do recommend visiting it because he talks about thinking logically. He talks about the great philosophers like Socrates, Spocrates, right? Aristotle, and probably, though he doesn't know it, he may even be quoting the great Mgtocrates. You know, I love this entire subject matter. You know, the thing with philosophy is it can be a bit dry, right? Where I find it comes to life is applying it to what I know and what I see. You know, I love philosophy, but when I can see its application, I can see it at work, I can see it in the things that people do and say, I realize that philosophy isn't something dead that lived on the steppes of Greece, right? It didn't die, right, when Socrates drank the hemlock tea. It continues. See, philosophy is true whether you believe it or not, whether you agree with it or accept it. And that's where I think we run into the juxtaposition between men and women, and even the juxtaposition between young women and older women. So let's get into the meat of it. Right? You know, philosophy is thinking. It's understanding nature's law, the world around us. Things are true, whether we like it or not. Things are verifiable. Things can be demonstrated through practice and experiment. Whether someone understands it or not is another question. For example, a woman can have a particular belief system or perspective that completely abandons logic, completely abandons a logical conclusion, a philosophical position. That doesn't make her right, it just means she has a different perspective. But she's nuts, in other words, right? Because when you break things down, when you examine them logically, when you have a hypothesis and you can prove it out, you can demonstrate a fact, you can demonstrate a truth, and then you can apply it to life. And that's what I like to do on this channel as Professor Emeritus Mgtonius, is to demonstrate philosophy, but through real life application, real life examination. I'm sure that Aristotle's view on women and Socrates' view on women 2,000 years ago was seeded or was germinated or fertilized by thought, having to deal with women at that point because they were probably getting out of hand, getting out of control. Hence the collapse of the Greek Empire, and then hence the collapse of the Roman Empire. Right? I'm sure it was associated. I'm sure the same sicknesses that brought those great empires to their knees are the same ones that right now are bringing our culture, our world, the empire of the Anglos, to its knees. Thank you, gentlemen, for the fine cigars. Thank you, gentlemen, for the fine scotch. And I need a lot today. It's been a rough day, but my mind is fertile ground upon which to examine the seeds of philosophical thought. Let's start with what I did. Yesterday, I took my sons to a water park. They're 17 and 15, but that really didn't have anything to do with what I saw there. I saw older women, right, in bikinis, in bathing suits. And I saw younger women in bathing suits and bikinis. Attitude, right? Women don't know it. They don't realize it. but their greatest sexual marketplace value is when they're young, 18, 19, 20, when their bodies are matured and young and vibrant. And the older women get, the more they sink. Now, between the ages of 30 and 40, I saw many women's bodies, from looking still pretty good to having hit the wall and slid down it, right? And got the, and landed hard on the rocks. It was interesting, their attitude. The difference between a 20-year-old woman and a 40-year-old woman, physically, on average, is incredible, the difference. Yet the attitude that the 20-year-old girl has is completely the opposite. They're at a complete and total 180-degree juxtaposition of each other. The woman at 40 thinks she is worth the most. The girl at 20, while she knows she's cute and pretty, has no idea that she's at her peak. The woman at 40 is saggy. She's bitchy. She's wearing a ton of makeup, and she's covered in tattoos. And I gotta tell you, I don't mind a little tattoo here or there. It says, hey, I like to experiment, I like to have fun, I'm adventurous, fine. But to be covered from tattoos from your feet all the way to your neck, up your back and down your chest, just too much. Right? They're screaming for attention. They're screaming for social acceptance. They're screaming to be cool and trendy. Basically, they're just fucking screaming at the top of the lungs, someone, please, a man, pay attention to me. And I even saw women in their 20s doing that, but that's another story. But looking at that 40-year-old woman, they had the bitchy attitude, right? And I'm out there, I'm 47, I'm wearing a pair of fucking shorts, swinging it. What do I care if they're fucking bitches, right? I had more heads turning on 20-somethings and late teens than I did on these 40-year-old bitches. Why? They think that they are worth more. What is interesting is they're worth more to themselves. And this is where we get into an odd sort of thinking. They're worth more to themselves, these women are. Why? Why do they believe that? Because they have experience, right? They believe that because they have experience, because they know how to turn a man's head, because they know how to manipulate a man, they think that that makes them more valuable. When in truth, it is the exact opposite. It makes them less attractive to men, the fact that that's the way they think and that's the way they act. They act aloof and hard to get. I'd say they act aloof and hard to want. I ignored them. It was fucking hilarious. They pretend to be looking away, but I know they're looking. I know they're looking. It's ridiculous. It was a silly game. The whole day was a giant game. But the older women think they're worth more. While the young woman, okay, she knows she's cute, but she has no experience. They are not as confident as an older woman, but they are actually more valuable at that age. Incredible. And I don't know how many videos I'm going to do covering the behavior I saw at the water park. It was quite fascinating. Quite fascinating, especially when I examined it, when I used observations to test theory. It was really quite interesting. So these young girls, they don't know it. They're at their peak value. That is when they should sell themselves. Men, we start young, no experience. We can work hard, but it's time for us to build and work and work and work and work and work our whole lives. And we become more valuable through life. Our sexual market value, it increases. Our professional value increases. Our aggregate wealth and value increases. And as we become older, more successful, our happiness, ego is satisfied, our personal pleasure is increased. We live a better life as we get older. Now, you see these young girls, they're happy and smiling, right? Their racks are nice and perky. Their asses are tight and bubbly. They're kind of happy. And I say kind of because they're not sure of themselves. This is where they're hurt, their lack of experience and understanding. But as they get older, they start to look worse. Their tits sag. Their ass gets more jiggly. Their looks start to fail them. And they become less happy. All while demonstrating to us, or trying to demonstrate to us men, that they're worth more, that they're worth keeping and having. It's the exact opposite, right? So whose philosophy is right? What is the truth? What is the fact of the matter when examining young women versus old women? Right? These young women, they've got it all. So I was listening to two young girls. I think they were in high school. My son was across. We were in a line. We were going to do a water slide race. And I was listening to these two young girls talk. They figured, yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm not listening. I don't want to hear their shit. One girl says to the other, I think it's time for me to start asking my mom about body jewelry, body piercings. And I thought, why would she want that? Well, at a water park, every other girl had her belly button pierced, right? And was covered in tattoos.